everyone, it's Tabitha Twitchett here today, and I'm going to talk about the Precious Moments Mintay kit. So this one I jumped the gun a little bit and fussy cut the bonus sheet. So when you buy the little pack, you get this bonus sheet on the back of the cover, and it's got all these fussy cut elements. So I always like to leave a little bit of white around them just for consistency. So you've got lots of things like, you know, balloons and cakes and lanterns, you know, typical Mintay style, beautiful vintage, lots of these little leaves that you could use for embellishments and balloons. So, and of course the florets, which you can obviously tuck into things. So that's your bonus sheet. Now you get 2 of every paper in this pack, and we're going to go through each one. So this one is your wreath. It is gorgeous. I would probably fussy cut this and lift it up, but this little star and spot behind is really gorgeous as well. Then we've got a lot of these branch sort of arbors here. So there's quite a few of these in different styles. This one is a smaller one, and it's got a lovely big balloon at the top left. Then we've got another small one, but this one's got more of a wedding vibe with the beautiful fabric hanging over the top, and it's got a few little balloon clusters which I really like. And this is a beautiful flower up here on the top right. Then we have a larger one, and it's a lot bigger. It's a lot more going on, and you've got other extra cakes and different things in the middle. Again, the balloons, beautiful big rose, gorgeous. And then we've got a bit more of our floret pattern paper. So this is definitely for the fussy cutters out there. And then we've got your standard project kind of page. So again, these can be fussy cut or used for tucking in between. So that being the first half of the papers, remembering you get 2 of each. And then we've got B-side. So we flip over and we've got B-side. Now we're used to these frames from Mintay, but these oval ones are gorgeous with the little ribbon, and I think I'm going to use them on one of my layouts. So on the back of the roses, we've got a gorgeous little spot. It's almost like a light green. The back of this one, we've got a star. On the back of this one, we've got again that green but with some script writing. The back of this one, we've got the tonal one with the script writing. And on the back of the wreath, oh, we've got some more little florets that we could cut out. So that's beautiful B-side, beautiful colours. So what I am thinking, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this big one, and I'm going to cut out this big leaf. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of those gorgeous oval frames, and we're going to hang them through the middle. Now I've got some seam binding, I've got some jute, I've got some ribbon, I've even got some lace, maybe a doily, I don't know, but I'm thinking a very monotone, stick with the tones of the paper, and let's see what we can come up with. Okay, so I'm placing my 3 frames to see if they're going to fit in the arbor. And now what I'm going to do is trace around the arbor. Now the reason I'm going to do this is because once I get too close to it, sometimes you can't see what you want to keep and what you're going to cut off. So just having that line in pencil around the outside gives me an idea of where I'm going. And it allows me to think about the design and what I want included in the design as well as I'm going around. So some of these little flowers, as you can see, they get chopped off. I don't want those, too fiddly to cut, and they're just little sprigs. So my idea is to have a different colour inside the arbor as to outside. So I really want it to stand out and be defined in the space. So going around the inside now, same way with the pencil. These little balloons I really want to keep for another layout because I've got this idea in my head to use the balloons. So I don't want to cut too much of them off. And I'm also going around the big spaces, so that one and inside the wreath as well. So down we go, down towards the bottom, cutting those flowers off, don't want those. But this way, if I'm careful about where I cut, I can keep those middle elements for another layout. And there you can see I almost left the balloon in the middle of the wreath until I realized it wasn't part of it. Now I started cutting this as closely and carefully as possible to start with, and I realized that it was getting a bit fiddly with all that paper in the middle. So I end up just going, oh, I'll just cut it roughly and then go back. So I cut it roughly, but keeping in mind that I want to use those balloons, so I go as close as possible without being too fiddly. So fussy cutting is interesting. You kind of move the paper to go with your scissors. And sometimes I change the angle of the paper to get into the different little corners and little points. So it's really nice to turn your paper with your to get the right angle. So here I'm showing you how to cut out the middle of those. So I put a bit of a hole in the middle there, and then I put some cut lines out towards the edges. So just doing a little bit at a time, just chipping away inside there. They are a little bit fiddly, not gonna lie. It was a little bit of a fiddly job, but I really like the result in the end. So I did that one and did inside the wreath as well. So now we've got the frames, and we pretty much have to do the same with the frames. Now for the first one, I put a big hole in the middle and realized I really didn't need to do that. A simple hole on the side would be fine. And the middle part, always keep that part, because you can use that for an embellishment or to punch something out of it. Who knows, tuck it behind something. So they're always good to keep your bits that you don't use. So again, I tried to use my scalpel to go into these other bits, but I really found that my sharp scissors work best. I think my scalpel was a little bit blunt. Always be careful when cutting with a scalpel, especially if it's blunt, because you don't want to cut your little fingies. So just cutting out the whole of the ribbon in that little one. And done. So you can use the oval to trace your photos or the frame. So now I sort of trying to decide whether I wanted the white in the middle or I wanted the spots, but I'm going for the spots, and I'm marking around the arbor where I want it. So I've put it down the bottom left because I want to keep the back of this paper. It's got the beautiful flowers. So if I don't cut right in the middle, I might be able to salvage some of those flowers. So there I've got my piece of paper cut. I'm going to put some foam tape on the back of the arbor just to make it pop up a little bit from the page. I'm not sure I'm going to tuck anything underneath it, but it just does give it a little bit more depth to the page if I've got it popped up a little bit. Now I pop it on top and realize it's, oh, big mistake, can't line it up. So easier to go backwards, put it on the back. And then I can see I've still got a little bit that I've overlapped that are coming out where I don't want it. So just getting my scissors on an angle and going in there and just trimming off the rest. So happy with that. And now I bring in my white paper and position it in the middle of the white paper. So I obviously forgot to trim off the trunk. So just trimming off that side bit. So as you can see, that white paper really brings your eye down and focuses on the arbor. So a bit more double-sided tape, and I've also used some glue here to adhere the larger piece down onto the paper. Looking good. So there's your base, and now I'm showing you can use the rectangle frames if you wanted to, but I feel like these little flames with the ribbon are so cute. So I'm trying the jute and I'm trying the cream ribbon, but I've decided to stick with the really thin cream ribbon because I think it works with the bows that are on the frames a lot better, and really makes the white on white look really pretty. I'm going for a bit more of a feminine soft look with this one. Now I do a bit of boo-boo here. I tried my Zig 2A glue on ribbon, which it did not like at all. It was like it wasn't even glued or anything. I don't know what I was doing here. So I went back to my craft glue and ended up gluing it down with that. So as you can see, I put a spot where the top of each of the ribbons were. That way I knew where to line up the ribbon. The top where the bows were. So yeah, so that's where I knew where the ribbon would go. So I put a little strip and pop that down. Later on you'll see that I get the ribbon and move it to the other side so that you don't see those ends sticking out. Okay. So because the edges were a little bit rough, I'm not a beautiful easy cutter of ovals. They're quite tricky. So what I decided to do was shabby them up a bit. So I've got my scalpel and I'm just going around making them a bit rough. Now I also do have a tool for this, and I tried the tool. I find the tool a bit fiddly, and if your paper's too soft, sometimes it really can make a mess of it. So had to go quite carefully on this one, but got there in the end. So now I'm tracing around the outside of the frame as where your photo would go. So I'm just using a bit of a placeholder at the moment. Not sure, because this is a template. Not sure what my photos will be, but probably something, you know, of my baby son when he was younger, or maybe even my friend's wedding, who knows. So popping them on with double-sided tape and lining the ribbons up with the end of the bows. And yeah, so the rest of it is all about embellishing. Now this seam binding gets a bit of a look in. I do love the colour with the layout. It works really well, but I could not get it to sit right. I'm not a fussy over embellisher, so the ribbon just wasn't working for me. So I went back to the florets and I played around with them, tucking and cutting. So I do this for quite a while. And yeah, so I end up putting a couple at the top near where the stick is sticking out, and down the bottom right with the lantern as well, just to give it some base down that type side. I also use some of the papers to punch a couple of butterflies, which I stick up on the ribbons, which are really cute. So they work well. So I've kept this one really natural. You could go back and put some splatters of white or splatters of blue over the top and things like that, but I'm not a mixed media girl, so I've kept it just to the papers, and I really love how it's turned out. So I'll let you watch the rest of the layout and the embellishing, and I'll have some close-ups for you at the end. So thanks for watching, and I hope you really enjoyed it and can make a layout of your own. Have a great day. Bye.